the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we find our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and free.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm retired Major Alex Holt. I'm one of the 2 Navy JROTC teachers here at Lee High School and the Lee Careers and Technical Center. A warm welcome to you all, especially those who have traveled from far to come and be part of this ceremony and this special day. So thank you very much for that. We're going to start the ceremony with the presentation of the colors and the singing of the national anthem and the posting of the colors. The Colors Guard is made up of members of both the Lee High School Navy JROTC and the Daniel Boone High School Marine Corps JROTC. The Star Spangled Banner will be sung by members of the Lee High School Chorus. Please stand. And a round of applause for the chorus, please. Please take your seats. Next, I'd like to introduce Pastor Henry Minton, Jr. for comments and to lead us in prayer.
Family asked me to make a couple of comments about Jacob before I pray. You know, as we reflect back over Jacob's life and the comments that we've heard described of him are various. Some people said he was a sweet young boy. Some referred to him as a great kid. Some said he was funny and smart, and the list could go on and on. But there's some other words that I think were very fitting for the life of Jacob, and some of those words are a warrior and a fighter and a soldier and a champion. Words that no doubt he learned from his father and his grandfather, who were both old Marines. And ironically, Jacob shares the same birth date as the Marine Corps of November the 10th. His father and grandfather no doubt instilled some values into him about Corps and honor, and words like semper fidelis, that means always faithful. And those are things and words that would help Jacob along his journey of life. Because not only was Jacob faithful to keep the faith in battle, but God was always faithful to Jacob every single day along the way, because God is always faithful. Jacob lived a life of a champion. I can remember visiting with him in the latter part of his short life in the hospital, and there was a flag that was displayed, hung up on the wall with medical tape. Jacob was a big Notre Dame fan, and most of you know that. He let you know it if you were around him. But he had the flag, Notre Dame's flag up, and it said, "Play like a champion today." And that's exactly what Jacob did, but instead of playing, Jacob fought for his life since he was a child, an infant. He fought like a champion all along the way. There was no quit, there was no give up, there was no feel sorry for myself, and there was no tears. But Jacob simply kept believing and trusting in God and fighting. He was truly one of the bravest warriors that I've ever met. He taught us how to live, he taught us how to battle, and he taught us how to finish life like a champion, even in the toughest of circumstances. A lot like the Apostle Paul said in 2 Timothy 4:7 at the end of his life, when he says, "I have fought a good fight, I have finished my course, and I have kept the faith." Semper Fidelis, I have been faithful. And Jacob was faithful to the end. Let's pray. Father God, we're so thankful for this day that we can celebrate, again, not only Jacob's life, but we can bring honor to his life and a legacy that will continue on long after we're gone. I pray, God, that you would help his family to continue to share his story and his legacy of a great young warrior that fought through the toughest circumstances and never gave up. God, we honor you today, and we pray that as we honor Jacob with the Honorary Marine name, that you would help us to know that what he stood for was that he was a warrior and he fought to the very end. God, help us to follow his example in everything we do in life. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll look at your program, you have an insert in there, and on that insert is the biography of Lieutenant General John A. Toolan, Jr. I'm not going to go line by line through that biography because it is a quite detailed and quite successful litany of the things that he has accomplished. The one thing I will note is that he became on active duty in 1976, and there are very, very few Marines and very few armed service personnel who get to serve 40 years in the military, and he is quickly coming up on that time frame. And that's both because of how successful he's been and the fact that he's not only serving the Marine Corps, but he's also serving our wonderful country. With that, I have served with a number of Marines that have been under him, including in combat. I have served with him myself for a while, and I will tell you, to a man, every one of us would follow John Toolan when he tells us to go somewhere and do something without hesitation. And for him to come down from where he's currently at, which is the Commanding General of Marine Forces Pacific, and he has over 80,000 combat forces underneath him, to come and spend time with us and bless us with his presence. Please give a warm welcome to Lieutenant General John A. Toolan.
So long, I gotta make sure I have my glasses so I can read. But you notice I ran up the steps. Right? You notice that? Is the color guard gonna stand at attention the whole time? Okay, because I'm gonna speak for about a half an hour. You up to it? All right. There you go. All right. Put him at ease. I feel a lot more better. Is that good English? Ladies and gentlemen, as was just mentioned earlier, I am the Commanding General for Marine Forces Pacific. So my headquarters is in Hawaii, which isn't bad duty. But I have to say that today, as I ventured down here from Washington, D.C., I think it was about an 8-hour drive, I realized just again how beautiful our country is. And you know, it was raining like cats and dogs for the first 4 hours of the drive. But once it stopped and the sun came out, and you saw the colors and the vibrant trees, and I just realized, you know, that we're so certainly worth all the effort that it takes by our young Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen that every day serve our country. I know many of you have heard before the saying that all evil needs to succeed for good men to go stand by and do nothing. But the fact is that those that wear the uniform have taken that message to heart, and they have stood up. They stood through the test of time. For the Marine Corps, it's been 239 years of service to our country here on November 10th of this year. And during those years, there's been many battles that we've fought, many lives that have been sacrificed for this great nation. Today, we're still embroiled in conflict, whether it be the fact that we're in Iraq and Afghanistan, or that many of you, thank you, that many of you know about this Task Force Ebola that just went out into Africa. And who's gone out there into the forward edge of the battlefield to provide the security for the humanitarian effort against Ebola? United States Marines. So it's a major task. What is it in these people that do the kinds of things that they do? How do they actually get that spirit that has animated the Marine Corps from year to year and has been celebrated at every Marine Corps birthday? Where do they get that spirit from? You know, I tell people that the Marine Corps has three jobs, three missions that they perform for this country. First is they make Marines. There's a little process that occurs in a place called Paris Island or San Diego, where a young man or young woman gets off the bus in the dark of night and is traipsed away by this individual who's got veins popping out of his neck and is yelling at him, and they're tired and they don't know what's going on. He tells them to get on the yellow footprint. And from that moment on, there's a transformation that occurs. I tell some people, school teachers in particular, when they come to visit boot camp in Paris Island or San Diego, and they ask me, they say, how in the world were you ever able to get Johnny to stand there at attention and keep his mouth closed for 25 minutes? And I turn to them and I tell them, well, ladies and gentlemen, the real people involved in this process are those guys in the back that are standing there with these special covers on their head called drill instructors. And it's much like the Wizard of Oz. Some of you can relate to the Wizard of Oz. When young Dorothy took a little journey along the yellow brick road, and as she made this journey, she met a couple of friends. Somebody who was looking for a heart, somebody that was looking for courage, somebody that was looking for a brain. And if you remember in the story, they go through this journey of challenges, of trials, of difficult times, and they weather the storms together, all led by Dorothy, who's got an end state in mind. And when they finally get to that big palace out there, and they go to the wizard, and they're going to get bestowed the courage and the heart and the brain that they've been pursuing, they realize that they always had it in them anyway. They just needed those circumstances to transform them. And they needed a mentor. They needed a leader like Dorothy. Now you can imagine the drill instructors are just cringing because I'm comparing them to Dorothy. And I compare the junior drill instructors to Toto, who just barks at their feet. But the fact is that transformation occurs because they were given the opportunity in boot camp to go through some difficult times, go through the crucible of events, and come out one day and their drill instructor says to them, "Welcome to my Marine Corps," and hands them the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever seen anything more magical than to watch that transformation, to watch the tears that come out of these young men's eyes and young women's eyes when their drill instructor says, "You've done well. Welcome to my Corps." The second thing that the Marine Corps does for this country is we win our nation's battles. Now, we're not as big as the Army, and we're not going to be able to take over the entire war. But rest assured that if there's a battle to be won, a battle to be fought, that's why you have Marines. That's why they do what they do. Those are those good men that are not standing by to allow evil to take root. And if you look at the history of 239 years of the United States Marine Corps, there are not very many battles they've lost. Against all odds, some of them insurmountable, they've come out victorious. So again, you ask yourself, well, what animates them? How does that spirit come about? And it's sort of through this brotherhood. This brotherhood that I'm part of today, as I recognize Rick and Monique and Daniel and their son's life. Why am I here? Because I knew him when he was a young sergeant, 100 years ago. But the fact is that that brotherhood is strong. And the last thing that we do for our nation is that we turn out good citizens, like Rick and his family, and the many other Marines that are here from my old unit, who are now in society, out in the world, in the civilian community, doing great things. But you know what they're doing most of all that's most important? Is they are representing those core values of honor, courage, and commitment, day in and day out. It is so important that our young Marines and our older Marines and us very old Marines that soon get out, to be able to represent what the Corps is all about, those three values. So 3 things that we do. We make Marines, we win battles, and we turn out good citizens. I'm here representing the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Jim Amos, who's about ready to hand over the reins of the Marine Corps on Friday to General Dunford. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and I attended an event with the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And he told me, he gave me special guidance. He said, look, when you get down there, you will make this moment memorable for the family, for the Sprinkle family, because they have a special son. This award was boarded by the Commandant of the Marine Corps, the Assistant Commandant, the Sergeant Major, and 3 of the other 3-star generals assigned to Washington, D.C. You can see their notes after I sent the submission for this recognition to Washington, D.C. almost a year ago, I believe. Well, no, it was in May. All people recognize the fact that Jacob Sprinkle was one fine young man. And I want to read to you, because I can't talk about it as well as I think the father explained exactly what Jacob did. What was it that was so special about him? So bear with me for a second. I'm writing to respectfully request that you consider nominating my son, Jacob Tyler Sprinkle, born November 10, 2000, for the honor of receiving the title Honorary Marine, posthumously. As previously noted, Jacob was born on November 10th, the son and grandson of old Marines. My son Jacob was born with severe congenital heart defects. He underwent surgery at 10 days of age and again at 10 months of age to correct these defects. He received a donor heart valve at his second surgery at Duke University. He has never complained about fatigue or any of the other symptoms of this condition throughout his life. He was very well connected to several of my Marine Corps friends, many of whom stayed on active duty until full retirement. His regrets were that he would never ever be healthy enough to earn the title Marine. When facing life-threatening surgeries, his one question was, if I do this, will I be able to join the Marine Corps? And he was always disappointed when I told him that he would not be physically able to become a Marine. On July 2nd, 2013, Jacob underwent open heart surgery to replace the donor valve he received at age 10 months. After 11 years of wear and tear, when the valve replacement was complete, Jacob's heart failed to restart with enough strength to perfuse his organs with blood. He was placed on a ventricular assist device to keep both his left and right heart ventricles operating until he could receive a heart transplant. The look of the machine and the canals to keep him alive was brutal. He was not allowed anything to drink or eat from July 1st, 2013 until he passed away on January 21st, 2014. He was confined to the hospital during this time and through physical therapy had to relearn to walk after approximately 1 month. He built his strength up to where he could walk from one end of the intensive care unit to the other, about a 100-meter round trip, while tethered to a machine that kept him alive. He was set back when he suffered a brainstem stroke and multiple frontal lobe strokes about 6 weeks into his stay. It was at this point that his mother and I received end-of-life counseling for him. We were told by his neurosurgeon that letting him die from the swelling and excess fluid on his brain would be the most humane way. We were told that we could opt for a Hail Mary, put a tube in his head, and hope that relieved enough pressure that he could survive. We were told that it was an incredible long shot. My wife and I let the surgeons know that Jacob comes from a line of old Marines, and if he was going to die, he would die fighting. We elected the long shot, and Jacob recovered within a week and was back to playing Call of Duty on his Xbox. He began to rebuild his leg strength. We were told soon thereafter he had substantial pleural space, that he had substantial infection and fluid in the left lower lobe of his lung that could not be treated medically. This was complicated by the fact that there was no safe option to correct it surgically. He had to have a major thoracotomy and lung decortication to correct this condition. This left him with an open wound approximately the size of a softball that had to heal from the inside out. He was given a medication pump to pump morphine into his body at will, and the only time he used it was at night to go to sleep. It was eventually removed because he did not use it at all. And the thoracic surgeon was amazed at his fight and tenacity in the face of overwhelming odds. The wound began to heal at an accelerated pace, and he was returned to the transplant list 2 weeks after his surgery took place. A couple of weeks passed, and Jacob was doing very well, building his strength again. Then he became septic. Sepsis, of course, can easily kill a healthy human. Jacob suffered 3 different incidents of sepsis. The last incident is so severe that had he not been on an artificial heart, he would have died from it. But he fought through it and recovered once more. And time was running out for Jacob, as he had been on the artificial heart for more than 6 months. On January 18, 2014, after more than 6 months of an artificial heart, our prayers were answered, and the donor had been located. He underwent transplant during a marathon surgery. It looked like he was going to make it through. His chest was left open post-transplant so the bleeding could be controlled better. And during a change of gauze packing on January 21st, his surgeon noticed a small oozing coming from his aorta. He attempted to correct the deficiency, and the bleeding became worse to the point that Jacob's aorta ruptured and he bled to death. My son lived his life in keeping with the Marine Corps motto he knew very well, Semper Fidelis. He never quit fighting, he never surrendered, he kept the faith. He went down fighting. He knew the danger of the surgeries he was having, and that he had, to the extent that he had instructed us where to bury him, just in case. He went headlong into the breach and never once said, "I'm scared." The thing I found most remarkable, he never cried. Not one tear during the entire 6+ months. So only the Commandant of the Marine Corps can officially designate an honorary Marine. And the nomination to receive such an honor must come from a general officer, either active duty or retired. I made that recommendation to the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and I'm here today to honor Jacob. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think you can find a better example of honor, courage, and commitment. And the Marine Corps is very, very proud to welcome Jacob into the ranks of the Honorary Marine Corps, of our Marine Corps. So what I'd like to do is, at this point in time, present the Honorary Marine Certificate to Jacob's parents and family.
Citation off to you so they know what it says on there. Marines, this is not an attention to orders, this is a family-friendly citation. On God of the Marine Corps, to all who shall see these presents, greet. Know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the patriotism, fidelity, and abilities of Mr. Jacob Tyler Sprinkle, I do appoint him an honorary Marine, United States Marine Corps posthumously, for his unyielding support and devotion to Corps and country, in testimony whereof I, General James Amos, Commandant of the Marine Corps, hereunto subscribe my name, done at the city of Washington, the 16th day of July in the year of our Lord, 2014, and the 235th year of the independence of the United States of America. Please take your seats. If you take a look at your program, obviously the General spoke of how much tradition, history it's inbred in the Marine Corps. All Marines live, die, they know the history, they know the famous battles. Like any other service, it is part of what we do. Semper Fidelis, always faithful. We put some of that into the program and into the ceremony. The front of the program, the graphic that is on there, is the same graphic that you'll see on the citation down before me. Move to the second page, the yellow footprints Lieutenant General Toolan spoke of. We have those superimposed behind Jacob's right up there. And in reality, this is Jacob's Yellow Footprints Day. If you look at, when you cross over to the program itself, the next two items that we're going to do will be taps, which is symbolic of what you go through at boot camp in the evening, and then the Marines hymn. When the taps is played in the evening, Marine recruits at the time basically get up in your rack, the lights go out in squad bays, and the drill instructors have you sing the Marines hymn. And when you're in the rack at that point, you're at the position of attention, your heels are on line and touching at a 45-degree angle with your toes, and you're stiff as a board. So with that, we are going to have two of the members of Lee High School Band come out and play taps for us, and then I'll lead you in singing the Marine Corps hymns. Please stand. Playing taps for us will be Taylor Hines and Sawyer. The back of your program is the Marines hymn. When the Marines sing it, we sing it at the position of attention, so we'll remain standing for this. Stand by. From the halls of to
the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Our flags unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We have fought in every clime and place where we could take our gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands, and in sunny tropic scenes, you will find us always on the job, the United States Marines. Here's to health to you and to our corps, which we are proud to serve. In many strife we fought for life, and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines.
Please take your seats as we get ready to close. The last bit of imagery that we've done is going to be a surprise to Monique. If you look at the picture on the back of the Marines hymn, that's the Marine Corps War Memorial in Arlington, Virginia. Very sacred ground for us. That's a depiction of the flag raising on Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima in World War II. What we've done is had a flag flown over top of the War Memorial, and we've got a certificate in Jacob's name as a Marine for that flag being flown over it. So, Cadet Charlie Sprinkle, you down here? Please come up front center. Cadet Chief Petty Officer Charlie Sprinkle is Jacob's first cousin. He's one of our top cadets in the program. And at this time, I'd also like to have Virginia State Police First Sergeant Baldridge and Sergeant Day. They are going to present the Sprinkle family a Virginia state flag and a trooper patch. Gentlemen, thank you. Please rise as we retire the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude our ceremony, and thank you very much from the bottom of my heart and for the Sprinkle family for being in attendance for this special ceremony. God bless you all.
We fight our country's battles in the air.